Aloha and good afternoon. You're watching This Is Now First at Noon. A global celebration of Pacific arts and culture is coming to Hawaii.
Yeah, for the first time ever, the state is hosting FestPAC here on Oahu from June 6th to the 16th with delegations from more than 20 nations participating. A press conference about the event just wrapped up. Here's some of what was said.
I want everyone to think of FestPAC as a cross between the Olympic Games and the Merry Monarch. So it is something that only happens every 4 years, and it was also delayed due to the COVID pandemic. What it is meant to do is it's meant to emphasize the importance of cultural exchange and collaboration between all of our nations in the Pacific. Since its inception in 1972, FestPAC's been significant as a venue for honoring and preserving Pacific arts and culture. So it is a very, very big deal. The fact that it's here for the first time may mean it's not going to be here for the rest of our lifetime. So this is it. Everyone who can attend should attend. It is going to be magical.
The vast majority of the festival is free and open to the public. We want for everyone to come and experience this incredible opportunity. It is a once-in-a-lifetime engagement for Hawaii and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Pacific to engage here in this way.
Performances, workshops, demonstrations, and panel discussions on various topics will be held at different sites around Oahu, including the Hawaii Convention Center, Bishop Museum, UH Manoa, and Windward Mall. You can find a link to the full schedule on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. A 17-year-old girl is recovering after she was stabbed in the Kalaeloa area. HPD has identified Moto Piaman as the suspect. The 41-year-old was arrested for attempted murder just before 3 yesterday afternoon at a home on Bougainville Circle. It's not yet known what led up to the stabbing. We're told the teen suffered wounds to her torso and extremities and was rushed to the hospital in serious condition. A gunshot rang out last night in Waimanalo after a dispute on the road. It happened just before 10 p.m. last night. Police say it started after 2 men were involved in some sort of traffic incident. One man followed another into a neighborhood where one of the suspects was waiting. He allegedly confronted the driver that had been following with a gun. Words were exchanged and we're told at least 1 shot was fired. One man left the area and called police. No arrests have been made, but HPD has opened a first-degree attempted murder case. And Honolulu police are looking for the suspect in an armed carjacking in Kalihi. HPD says 2 men who knew each other were arguing at around 5:20 yesterday morning when one of them pulled out a gun. The other grabbed it and the gun went off. No one was hit, but the man with the gun then took off with the car. HPD has not released a suspect or vehicle description. Closing arguments are wrapping up in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. For weeks, jurors have heard testimony, and tomorrow they're expected to begin deliberations. Michael George has more from Manhattan.
Former President Donald Trump headed back into court Tuesday to hear closing arguments from prosecutors. He's charged with falsifying business records to interfere with the 2016 election.
They are going to want to take a really broad look at all of the evidence, take a walk down memory lane over the past 5 weeks of testimony.
Before lunch, the jury heard 3 hours of closing arguments from defense lawyer Todd Blanche attacking the prosecution's key witness, Michael Cohen. Cohen testified he was acting on Trump's behalf when he paid hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election.
They're hearing a constant refrain from Todd Blanche, the former president's attorney, which is Cohen the liar, Cohen the liar, Cohen the liar.
Blanche concluded by asking jurors to not send his client to prison. After the jury left, Judge Juan Merchan reprimanded Blanche, calling the comment outrageous. Outside the courthouse today, there's been a steady buzz of energy as multiple people stepped up to the microphones, firing up demonstrators. Two of Trump's sons spoke during lunch, calling the trial a political persecution.
It is an insanity. It is an embarrassment. It's an abomination to democracy and to our republic.
Earlier, the Biden campaign held a news conference.
We're here primarily because of the threat that Donald Trump poses to the United States of America and to our democracy.
Biden's campaign was joined by actor Robert De Niro and two former Capitol police officers who criticized Trump for his role in the January 6th Capitol riot. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The man accused of attacking former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband was resentenced to 30 years in federal prison on Tuesday. The judge reopened David DePape's case because he was not given a chance to speak in his previous sentencing hearing earlier this month. Federal prosecutors filed a motion that day to reopen the sentencing as a result of the error. He apologized for his actions during Tuesday's hearing, saying, quote, "Looking back, I see I wasn't well," end quote. After noting DePape's vulnerable circumstances at the time of the attack, the judge resentenced him to 30 years in federal prison. He still faces charges stemming from the attack, including attempted murder and assault. Opening statements in that trial are set for Wednesday. The Biden administration is responding today following growing international condemnation of an Israeli airstrike this weekend. It killed more than 40 people at a Rafah tent camp where Palestinian families were sheltering. NBC's Alice Barr reports.
Israeli tanks pushing into the center of Rafah, according to an NBC News crew on the ground, raising urgent questions over whether Israel has crossed President Biden's red line, warning against a full-scale assault on the densely populated southern Gaza city.
We have not seen them smash into Rafah. We have not seen them go in with large units, large numbers of troops. We're going to watch this hour by hour.
The Biden administration responding as horrific images from a weekend airstrike at a Rafah tent camp for displaced families trigger fresh outrage.
It's horrific, it's heartbreaking, and it needs to stop. We also have to remember that we are supporting Israel in their fight against Hamas.
Israel says it targeted and killed 2 Hamas commanders, but in the process, an Israeli official tells NBC News it appears an IDF bomb ignited a gas tank, sending flames sweeping through the camp, killing at least 45 people, many of them women and children, according to the emergency services in Hamas-run Gaza, and injuring hundreds more. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promising an investigation into what he initially called a tragic mishap.
We will be watching those results closely, and we will continue to emphasize to Israel their obligation to comply fully with international humanitarian law.
At the same time, the U.S. military forced to suspend aid deliveries by sea into Gaza because a temporary pier was damaged in bad weather. Another blow in Gaza's dire humanitarian crisis. Israel is showing no signs of complying with the United Nations top court's order that is largely symbolic to halt that Rafah military operation. It comes as Spain, Norway, and Ireland all formally recognized a Palestinian state, another sign of Israel's increasing international isolation. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
In local news, an Ewa Beach man remains hospitalized after he was beaten in a confrontation over illegal fireworks. People who know him say he's a leader in the community. Mahelani Richardson reports.
The Lynn family says the violence in this Ewa Beach neighborhood stemmed from a graduation party across the street Sunday night, as people were setting off illegal and loud fireworks. They say 63-year-old Kobe Lynn went over and kicked over a box of fireworks out of frustration, and then was mobbed by 3 young men, leaving him hospitalized with a broken nose, concussion, and severe facial injuries.
Please stop the violence.
Lynn's son, Jim Lynn, says he saw the incident from his bedroom window.
And one of them hit him so hard that he flew out of his slippers into the side of a car onto the asphalt.
The Lynn family says the beating happened around 10:30 last night on the corner of Hanakahi and Ikulani, and it was all caught on surveillance video.
From 3 different angles, 3 people, one of them running across the street, struck him. All three of them swung at the same time, and it looks like one or two of them connected hard enough to throw him into the car.
On the video, Lynn falls to the ground, gets up, and falls again. Later, he held his shirt to his bloody face.
How are you feeling right now in the hospital?
I feel pretty terrible. Going off, and I overreacted and kicked one of them over.
During our conversation, Lynn seemed to struggle to speak clearly. His family says he's been battling brain fog from long COVID and is not a violent person. He was president of the Ewa Beach Lions Club and active in Weed and Seed to prevent neighborhood crime.
I would hope that they would come forward and take responsibility for what they did to my husband.
Lynn's wife says even though her husband was upset about the illegal fireworks, what happened to him was wrong.
They threatened to, fight with us. We were called dirty names. And even before that, they kept coming over to say it was all the old man's fault, the old Caucasian man. So I do believe it was like a hate crime.
Hawaii News Now contacted HPD about the assault case and we're waiting for word back.
Monday was Memorial Day and thousands of people headed to Ala Moana and Magic Island for the annual Shinyo Lantern Floating. It was a beautiful celebration in which 6,000 candlelit lanterns were set afloat on the water. Here's a look at some of the festivities.
Just her presence, knowing that I'm not alone, is what I miss most. I think there are still a lot of injustices that we face today as Indigenous people in America, and knowing that she's not physically here has been really hard for me.
My father was an artist, a musician. He's seen the good in people. He's seen the kindness, even when sometimes other people didn't, right? He was, when they talk about people giving their shirt off their back, that was my dad. And he raised us with those values.
Who are you honoring tonight?
My husband, this will be his 10 years of his passing. So, yeah, I feel so grateful and so honored also to be able to honor him and my ancestors, my grandparents, my parents who have passed on, and some friends' children too.
I'm generally a very private person. I'm like, I know this is going to be public. A lot of people showing up tonight, and I'm like, I need to do this. It's an opportunity for me to kind of lament some of my grief, and an amazing place to be able to do that.
It's I told one of my friends that it's a memory that'll last forever.
Now, following the ceremony, every single one of the 6,000 lanterns were pulled from the water and handled with respect and aloha. They will be recycled for next year's celebration. Turning now to news out of Lahaina, loved ones honored the 101 lives lost in the August wildfires. Our Chelsea Davis has more.
Somebody gotta do it.
Lahaina resident Solkai Tofa is a jack of all trades. Before the fires last August, he was a carpenter, but after the disaster, he became the caretaker of the Lahaina Memorial.
Before I was a very busy man, but after the fire, then I think to myself, somebody gotta make time for do this.
It's a site off Lahaina Luna Road dedicated to the 101 lives lost in the inferno.
Last night I was over here. We arranged, and all these pictures here, I have some wood. See right here, it starts to fall off. I have something here that I have it in my truck. After this one here, I'm gonna drive inside here and set up my little working place back here.
Tofa never met most of these victims, but he still devotes so much of his time to making sure the area is beautiful for them and their loved ones.
This is not the way they want to exit the thing of life. And they never have a chance to say goodbye to their loved ones. And these are our community here. These are friends, neighbor, co-workers.
Joseph Lomzi Lara was a father of 4, a grandfather of 12, and a great-grandfather of 11.
My dad was in the Navy. He was also National Guard. Of course, he'd fallen in a separate situation, but he served the country. I'm proud to be from Lahaina. I'm proud to be from a culture that everybody helps each other. And I just wish that the world would kind of follow, you know, in the footsteps of how we do things here.
For Kaina and his ohana, they hope Maui and the rest of the world spends this Memorial Day honoring the fallen and each other.
That's a day to remember how beautiful our town was, how beautiful our people are, how resilient our people are. The heartbeat of Lahaina still is alive.
Reporting in Lahaina, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Let's send you live outside now for a look at Waikiki, the beautiful Waikiki Aquarium. Stay with us after this short break. We will have more news and weather coming right up.
Aloha on this Tuesday. We're watching this disturbance just to the northwest of Kauai. It's far enough away that it's not going to bring us any rain. However, there's some trailing high clouds coming up and over the state this morning. Of course, those high clouds don't bring in any rain, but they could make for some beautiful morning skies. Now, there are a handful of showers this morning hitting a few windward spots, but rainfall totals will be very light, mainly because they're riding in on the trade winds. Not that strong just yet, but there is a trade wind flow, and because of that, the rain is moving out quite quickly, so rainfall totals will be minimal. We are expecting a fair bit of sunshine for leeward sides after those morning showers dry up, and today the winds will start to get a little bit breezier at 15 to 25 by this afternoon, and that means the biggest surf will be rising on the east side because of those stronger winds. It's going to be choppy, running about 2 to 4. The south shores are on the way down, but swells are due into south shore starting Friday. In fact, that's going to signal an extended run of south shore swells, so heads up, but you got to wait for the weekend. You don't have to wait for the weekend for beautiful weather. It's going to be breezy. It's going to be nice. There will be windward and Mauka showers. Now, those windward and Mauka showers will likely increase starting on Friday through the weekend, but we're still expecting a fair bit of leeward sunshine.
In Texas, the largest school district in Dallas is closed today, and hundreds of thousands are without power after another wave of severe storms hit the region. Now, this as the area continues to recover from deadly tornadoes that killed at least 24 people. Laura Aguirre has the latest.
Parts of the central U.S. once again in the crosshairs of savage, destructive storms. Torrential rain and powerful winds whipped through the Dallas, Texas area early Tuesday, bringing wind gusts over 80 miles an hour and large hail to some areas. The widespread damage to some homes and businesses on par with that suffered over the past weekend from deadly tornadoes across that same region.
I have never prayed so hard in my whole life.
Texas was among the hardest hit with several fatalities and many survivors still reeling from other difficult losses.
We've lost cows, we've lost pigs, we lost one of our dogs. My husband's lost his horse.
Tuesday's new wave of storms also striking on primary election day in Texas, leaving more than a third of one county's polling places in the dark.
I signed a declaration of disaster as we have hundreds of thousands of customers without power.
More than 750,000 customers as tracked by poweroutage.us, about half of those in Dallas County.
This, unfortunately, will be a multi-day power outage situation.
Critical infrastructure like hospitals and emergency response services will be prioritized for service before residential homes. The severe weather threat continues for Texas and parts of Oklahoma and Louisiana into the evening hours. Another 9 million people face a similar risk in the High Plains Wednesday, from northern Colorado up into North Dakota. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
In new research out today, new data shows that over the last year, more than 75% of the world's population suffered through heat waves that were amplified by climate change. National climate reporter Chase Kane shows us what this could mean for summer.
Over the last 12 months, climate change added nearly a full month's worth of extremely hot days, 26 days, if not for humans burning coal, oil, and gas. That's the big headline from this report, which did take into account things like what is hot in Dallas or Miami versus, say, what's hot in San Francisco.
I think it's very, very hard to ignore the fact that we now see heat waves basically every summer in lots and lots of places. And while of course we are still burning fossil fuels, so global mean temperatures are still rising and rising quite fast. So we will see many heat records being broken next year again.
Freddie Otto with World Weather Attribution is one of the lead scientists on this report. And zooming into the U.S., it's easy to see Florida stands apart with nearly 2 months, 54 days worth of climate amplified heat. Texas had an extra 23 days, California 17 days, even Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, all feeling about 3 extra weeks of heat, which likely wouldn't have happened without climate change.
For heat waves, we can make blanket statements that every heat wave that is occurring now globally has been made hotter and more frequent because of climate change. For heat waves, climate change is an absolute game changer, and we see heat waves now that are so hot or that reach temperatures that would have been impossible to reach without human-induced climate change.
Looking ahead, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center is already calling for one scorcher of a summer, especially in New England and in the Southwest. And keep in mind that this report emphasizes that all heat waves are lasting longer and being made even hotter because of climate change, and summer is just beginning. In Los Angeles, I'm National Climate Reporter Chase Kane.
On the next Spotlight now, we reflect back on this last legislative session and talk with the 2 leaders who have led both houses at the Hawaii State Capitol.
Senate President Ron Kochi, along with House Speaker Scott Saiki, will be here to answer our questions and yours. We'll see you at 1 o'clock on K5.
And there is a sport undergoing a revival in Honolulu. Our Casey Lund explains.
Hey, aloha from the Honolulu Racketball Club. We're here above the Topa Financial Center, in between the 2 buildings, above the parking garage. This, as Janet Kelly has been telling us, was a well-known racquetball court that was built in 1972, but in the last few years, prior to you folks fixing it up, was not that, right?
Actually, it was around 10 years that it was dormant, and the current fitness facility here at the building had used it for storage. So when we took it over to renovate it, it was in bad shape.
Why don't we go inside? Why don't we have our photographer John go inside here? We'll let him lead the way. And as we talk about this, you know, one of the reasons that I wanted to interview you about the Honolulu Racquetball Club that you folks have formed is because during the pandemic, the spaces that many racquetball players loved and played in were gone, right?
Every single racquetball court was shuttered. Every club, all of our wonderful Ys, military, the Honolulu Club, where we all came from.
Which is a shame because so many people love this sport and rely on it, honestly, for exercise, right?
Absolutely. Watch out.
Yeah,
yes,
watch out.
It's just the greatest workout. And we have a club here that is easy for anyone to learn because we're giving away some free lessons, or to just play with your friends at whatever level, beginner to advanced.
We even got to hear from some of the juniors earlier today. That was really special.
I like racquetball because it helps with my agility and my speed.
It's kind of a workout, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and how long have you been playing, buddy?
About almost 2 months.
2 months. Well, you enjoying it? Still having fun?
Yes.
I want to also just see who we have here. We have some professional.
A junior champion here, Kamahele Britos, a top-ranked pro on the pro tour currently. Robbie Collins, he's originally from Mililani. Dawn Dietz, who happens to be my mixed doubles partner. We've won a few gold medals at amateur tournaments, and probably one of the top female players in Hawaii, one of
Sarah Hoff-Taylor.
Sarah Hoff-Taylor, who plays not only indoor but outdoor.
Just because we're almost out of time, and we've told the story, I want to have John come back out here because we want to show folks exactly how this is managed. If you're interested in coming and joining the Honolulu Racquetball Club, the way you folks do this is it's managed all pretty much virtually, correct?
It was the first virtually managed court ever. This place is open from 5 to 11 every single day, including holidays. You register online at honoluluracquetball.com. You receive a fob, you make your own reservation online, and you let yourself in and out.
And let's show folks the setup here. So this is something that you can reserve your time. You can come and go into the club whenever, as long as you have that reserved online.
That's exactly right. And there's plenty of availability if you're interested in coming out and playing racquetball.
Very good. If you're interested in the Honolulu Racquetball Club, go to hawaiinewsnow.com. We have their website linked up to ours. For now, we'll send things back into the studio.
So, Ash, you think you'll be playing racquetball anytime soon?
I think it's a little too claustrophobic. I need windows.
Yes, I can see that. But it does look fun. Very high energy. Depends on who you're playing with. Got to watch out for that. Yes. Let's end today with another live look out at Waikiki. A beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.
Aloha.